Hi everyone, Hovi Tarapur here. Welcome to the upstairs of our Bagapars. If you're in Udwada, please do visit. If we're there, the signs will say open, and you're welcome to come in and look at many of the posters that are not only outside but also inside and have any kind of discussion that you would like to have. But in this video, we are continuing our series on the divine life of Asho Zarathushtra. Zarthos Pegamber was not an ordinary human being. He possessed what we call the Kayanian glory. If you're unfamiliar with it, it is that light which surrounded him. What exactly is this light and where did it come from? Well, let's look at what the scriptures say about this light and where it comes from. In Zamyadyas, we praise the Ahura Mazda created Kayanian glory as being the most conquering, working energetically, health giving, shining brightly and radiant, powerful, and superior to other creations. Which Kayanian glory is of the Amesha Spentas, who are the rulers, who are of effective glance, who are exalted, who are extremely helping, who are powerful, who are acting according to the law of Ahura Mazda, and who are immortal and holy. The seven Ameshaspans, who are of one thought, of one word, and of one deed, whose thought, word, and deed are the same, and whose father and teacher is the creator, Ahura Mazda. So here we get an idea of how magnificent this Kayanian glory is. And later on in Zamyadyas, when we go to paragraphs 79 to 81, this Kayanian glory, it says, it was associated with Asho Zarathushtra, whereby he thought in conformity with the laws of the religion. He spoke in conformity with the laws of the religion, and he acted in conformity with the laws of the religion. So that in the whole of the corporeal world, that means including the entire universe and the subtle existences, when we say corporal world, so that in the corporal world he was the holiest in holiness, the best ruling in rule, the brightest in brightness, the most glorious in glory, and the most victorious in victory. By his sight, the devas were running far away in front of him. By his sight, devilish malice disappeared. By his sight, devilish women and devas withdrew back from men, lamenting and bewailing. Then Zarathustra, by chanting the Aunavarya on all four sides, each time in a louder chant, caused the devas to hide underneath the earth. Such is the unique and exalted status of Asho Zarathushtra. He was Magavan Magao, the holiest of the holy, the most perfect of the perfected souls. In Gata 28:0, he is described as Yanim Mano, Yanim Vacho, Yanim Shayotanam. That is, his thoughts, words, and deeds came from the highest inspiration, and that means that they came from Ahura Mazda himself. Nowhere in our scriptures, nowhere do our scriptures describe him as a mere mortal, philosophizing about good and bad. There are miraculous events before his birth and during his life, starting at the very moment, the very instant of his birth. And it is these miracles of his infancy that we will discuss today. And what they really mean for us and what we can learn as human beings, as normal human beings, from these miracles. So I hope you enjoy this video. Let's get started. So over here in this poster, we learn that before his birth, 3 days before his birth, the whole village became all lighted. And there was a beautiful, white, peaceful light everywhere. And people were very excited. They knew that their Savior was coming. And there was happiness in the air. And there was happiness to the extent that all of nature went into jubilation. There was divine music in the air, and every speck of creation danced with joy. In the Avesta, this moment is expressed in the words Ushtan Hozato Atara Yospidama Zarathushtra.
So in the Farvandinyas, it says that Asho Zarathushtra, in whose birth and growth the waters and plants rejoiced, in whose birth and growth the waters and plants grew, in whose birth and growth the creatures of the good creation cried out, Hail, hail to us, for to us is born the Athara Spidama Zarathushtra, hence the words Ushtano Zato, Athara Yospidama Zarathushtra. So here we can see that there's something very mystical happening in nature, and that nature itself is alive with souls and consciousness. And it's that consciousness that this is speaking about. So one must not reduce the gathas, the avesta, and all the words to simply trying to say like a horse is a horse and a bull is a bull and a river is a river, because these are sometimes meant to be the actual horse, bull, or river, and sometimes they are meant to be the very mystical essence of those physical creations. So the very first miracle is after his birth is at the very instance of his birth. We've all heard of the stories that say that as soon as Zarathushtra Pegamber was born, he prayed the Yathahaweryo, and not only that, but he laughed, whereas other human babies would cry. And so right here, it tells us that there's something very different about this soul. Now, this idea of praying the Aunawar and might be difficult to understand in the beginning, but what we have to realize is though the infant Zarathustra in body form was just an infant, his soul was completely conscious. And this tells us, the message in here tells us that from the moment of his birth, he was already in communication with Ahura Mazda, and he knew what he had to do. He knew immediately what his job was, what his role was, and he knew he had come here to defeat evil. And hence, when that infant prophet was born, he laughed and he didn't cry like mortals do. Mortal babies cry because we know that we are going to face our karma. At that point, we know we've come down to do some very important work and learn some very important lessons. But here, Zarathustra laughs when he was born because he knew that he would defeat evil, and he knew that he would be the one to lead humans into the path of salvation. So we have all heard of this miracle when the infant Zarthos Pegamber, Durasab, the evil sorcerer, if you want to call him, came to on a pretense of meeting the infant, but wanted to crush his head between his hands, and by some miracle, this evil sorcerer's hands were twisted backwards and stayed that way permanently. So what does this mean, and how is this possible? These are the things that I want you to consider when you are walking through this presentation. Number one is, how did the infant do this? Here itself we can see that there is something special about this infant, not just the body, but basically the soul of this infant. And if you've ever read Autobiography of a Yogi, I think in the very first paragraph he discusses the yogi of how frustrated he was in the infant's body, and an infant's body which did not move properly, hands and legs, and could not speak properly. So clearly what he was trying to say is that from his very birth, that soul was awakened. Now, that is a soul that has started from the bottom and is moving towards God. Here, Zarthos Pegamber is already one with God. His light has been transformed into a body, but that does not mean that his soul is unconscious. He is not an ordinary soul like you and I. He is one in touch with Ahura Mazda. He doesn't need weapons. He doesn't need a nasty tongue. All he needs is his faith, his truth, his thought force, and the evil person's hands were twisted backwards. But here also, it everything that shows in that is happening in the physical world, they're trying to show also in a very mystical way what is happening in the universe. And this is saying that the Zartos Pegamber soul that has now come to this earth has come for this divine purpose, that the clouds of evil that had been growing and growing, when we say clouds of evil, we mean that the thought forces, word and deed have a formation in nature. They are forms that arise in nature. Every thought of yours has a force. Every action of yours has a force in nature. And similarly, all the evil thought forces and deeds of all the people that were moving towards evil had been creating huge so-called clouds of evil. And this shows that Zarthos Pegamber has been born to destroy those clouds and once again allow the good people to grow and progress spiritually. Now, how do we apply this to our life? Here we can see that today when we are faced with a nasty person, a hateful person, an angry person, we are always trying to find a way to what do I say back to that person? What do I do back to that person? Well, how do I put that person straight? But here, to apply this thought to our lives is when will we become like that perfect soul that merely needs to be in tune with Ahura Mazda, and the evil person will automatically move away and go on his own path, and it will not affect us. So here's a lesson that we have to learn. So we're always struggling out how to deal with nasty people in our life. And now try to apply this to your life. Try to apply this positive force to your life. What will I pray? How will I seek God's help in protecting me from the nasty people? This is how we're supposed to apply this miracle to our current life and bring tiny miracles into our life every day. So here in this miracle, we find out that Durasab is not finished with his evil deeds. He is still trying to terminate this divine infant. And he tried to place him in a heap of dry wood and set it on fire. But no matter how much they tried, the wood just did not catch fire. But what does this mean in the mystical sense? This means that, when our emotions are so fast caught on fire, when somebody is rude to us, when somebody insults us, when somebody does something wrong to us, we immediately react with anger, with hatred, with something. And here it is showing that there was no way to light those negative emotions in Zarthos Pegamber because his aura, his thoughts, his deeds were of perfection, of divine perfection, and that there was no way that these kind of interferences, this kind of instigation would ever spark the fire of hate, anger, jealousy, or any negative thought or emotion within him. And here, when we have to apply this to our lives, we have to wonder, how can we now bring our own characters and our own soul to a certain place where no matter how much instigation we face, our hearts, our souls will not be set on fire with anger, with hatred, with anything nasty, that we will be only truthful, peaceful, loving, kind. It's an exercise for us. And in learning from this miracle of his, we will learn how to bring tiny miracles into our own life, change our life, change the way we react to people, and move on that perfect road as he is showing us here. Again, we've all heard of this miracle where, again, the evil sorcerer tried to place Zarthos Pegamber in danger, in harm's way, and placed him in front of, in a narrow path where big bulls were passing by in the evening, hoping that he would be crushed. But again, the Dinkard says that a big bull shining, who could hear the white side of nature, heard Ahura Mazda's command and reached the prophet first and protected him from the rushing bulls. But here, what is the mystical meaning of this? In mysticism, we have to understand this as Zartos being the farmer. Just as a bull tills the soil with its hoofs, so too will Zartos till the soil of our souls by showing humans how to convert evil into good. So here, the soil is our bodies. The soul is planted within the soil of our bodies, and it is our bodies, our thoughts, our minds, which we have to bring into perfection and convert into good on the path that Zartos shows us. Again, a very lovely way to apply this miracle to your own life. Then the fifth miracle is similar, but it relates to the infant being placed in front of a herd of wild horses, hoping that it would be crushed, he would be crushed. But then a horse with yellow ears, working for the white side of nature, could hear Ahura Mazda's command and reached Zartos Pegamber first and protected him. But what is the hidden message here? Now, when in our Avesta, when we hear things like horse, we must think of it as our spiritual journey. It's the journey. And here, what it is showing us, that Asho Zarathushtra, like this very powerful horse, swift horse, will bring to us golden divine knowledge and will lead all the Mazda Yasnis. Mazda Yasmi means those who are tuning to the white side of nature, to Ahura Mazda, on the path of truth and knowledge with his golden wisdom. And hence, applying it to our lives means if we follow that path that Zartos Pegamber has shown us, if we follow his din, we will move swiftly like that swift horse with truth and golden knowledge towards that Ahura Mazda. And so again, a miracle of Zartos Pegamber, yes, but a very practical application to our lives as well. Out of all the miracles, I so like this one so much because we are in this state right now. We are in a state where we are trying to follow the path and there is so much opposition and we are all fighting and angry like wolves fighting each other. But here in this miracle, what happens is, again, Zartos Pegamber as an infant is placed in a precarious position where baby wolves were killed and the mother to arrive. And the thought was that the mother would kill the infant, thinking that the infant killed its babies. But instead of that, as soon as the wolf's eyes fell on the tiny little prophet, the evil in the wolf vanished and she fell down on her knees. And the mystical message here is that it meant that in the presence of the prophet Asho Zarathushtra, anybody's evil nature will vanish. And just like the mother wolf in this miracle, human nature will turn to truth and beauty. The whole universe will move towards Ahura Mazda, and Zartos Pegamber will bring creation on the right and straight path. But here, what is the message for us? We return a wolf's anger with, again, anger. We fight with each other all the time. But here, the answer is so simple to apply to our lives. So the truth and beauty conquers all. There's no need for fighting. There's no need for arguments. Follow the path. Follow the truth. And in following the truth, in following the laws of Asha, beauty automatically arises. Beauty means perfection. And in that perfection, who can argue? Difficult applications to our life and good life lessons for us in his miracles.